Morning in the marketplace at Phnom Penh. There's no shortage of food. A few years ago, Cambodian refugees gave the world an image of a starving people. But there are free market forces at work now, and the result is a better economy than the one in Vietnam. It is difficult to define a middle class in the Philippines where life is divided so sharply between wealth and poverty. But if there is a place in Manila for every man, the center is here, Quiapo. Theater may be daring and experimental, but it is also costly and has a limited audience. But movies in China have a potential audience of 1 billion people. It is in the movies where reforms have been most obvious. This is China's first stock market. But the people who run it say it is not a real stock market. A real stock market is a capitalistic idea. This, they say, is different. There is little speculation. The sign of modern times and the good life have not come to everyone. In the back alleys where many of the laborers live, there is harshness and even squalor.
Do you think Japanese automakers are selling their cars illegally, I mean cheaper?
I would never say one way or the other. That's an issue I don't think that could be proved very easily, the dumping question. When this comes up, all I have to do is go back in my own mind, is saying something about when Lee Iacocca was here in Japan 7 or 8 years ago, and somebody asked him, why aren't you selling Chrysler cars here? Why aren't you really pushing them? And his answer was, at the price they're going for in Japan, he wouldn't buy them. So, I mean, those kinds of comparisons are what lead to these charges of dumping.
I thought immediately the Japanese had labs set up, and they were cooking along and turning out cars that could do this, and in Detroit they were saying, oh my gosh. Is that the way it is, or is that mythology?
I think there's a tendency perhaps to overstate things when we think perhaps there's too much fear about the Japanese in that kind of area. I think President Bush's statement helped to stimulate research that was already going on here. Alternative fuels, the research has been going on for many years. That was stimulated by the oil crisis. Now to actually make them useful on the road and to get companies to put a product on the road that customers want to buy, that may be a ways down the line, and certainly government influence will stimulate Japanese research as well as everyone else's.
And Marianne, real quickly, you think the Japanese have the technology edge or the innovation edge anyway right now?
I think their best advantage, and it always has been their best advantage, is in their manufacturing systems. They can turn out the cars at a faster rate and with fewer flaws at lower costs than anybody around. And that has been their advantage, and they're working to improve that.
During the Vietnam War, rock and roll was the anthem, songs blaring from tape decks and radios tuned into Armed Forces Radio in Saigon. The war is long since over, but rock and roll has returned.
Tonight. I know this is the first time we've had a rock concert here, and certainly the first time in the history of Vietnam since James Brown, I think it was.
Canadian rocker Bryan Adams brought his So Far So Good tour to the heart of the new Vietnam in the city that was formerly Saigon. As the first pop star to play in Vietnam since the war, Adams didn't know what to expect when he stepped off the plane. His reception at the airport and later at his hotel was worthy of a visiting head of state.
I just want to say how delighted I am to be in Vietnam, and from my very brief impressions from the airport, I just hope that in the coming years that Vietnam keeps its beauty and its innocence, and I'm very, very happy to be here. Thank you very much.
But Adams didn't stand on ceremony. Like any tourist, he was curious to see the sights.
Please forgive me. I'm taking the limo. Get the AC on. Turn on the AC.
During his stopover, Bryan got a first-hand look at the new spirit of commercial enterprise sweeping through the communist state, where vendors can be seen hawking everything from souvenir caps to compact discs and cigarettes.
No smoke. Bad for the teeth.
At the zoo, he took a moment to give an elephant a drink.
That's it. It's all gone. All gone. All gone.
And sign a few autographs.
Hey, I like your music.
Thank you.
The evening of his concert, fans were lining up in anticipation of the big event.
In our country, this is the first time we can accept the special singer like Bryan Adams.
I'm in front of Bryan Adams.
Everything I do it for you. It's very loved, very famous, the music.
But because so many kids couldn't afford the price of a ticket, Adams sent some of his staffers out to distribute free guest passes.
Go get your friend and we'll take you inside, okay?
This will let you into the show, so I want you to hold on to it.
However, that didn't go over very well with the military guards at the front gate, who, acting on strict procedure, only wanted to admit people with printed tickets, despite the protests of Adams' personal emissaries.
I just need one more. Just one more.
But once the concert was underway, Bryan quickly got his audience rocking with a song whose lyrics took on some added meaning in a country where military decree still ruled.
It's a house arrest, everybody run. Gotta plead guilty, having too much fun.
He also took some time out for some Q&A with the crowd.
So let me ask you a question. Do people in Vietnam like rock and roll?
He even found himself sharing some of his first impressions as a tourist.
Yesterday we got on a bicycle. What do you call the bicycle with the front?
But later, when he dove into the crowd, some of the security guards began to get nervous.
There was a policeman out there with batons, and it could have been something that the police might have got upset about. So I thought, well, I'm gonna let it go because I don't want someone being whacked over the head or something. So I was more reserved this evening than normal.
However, for the Vietnamese, who by nature are very restrained, this was a night to really let go, which made Bryan wonder about the future of pop music in a poor nation which is only beginning to open up to the West.
It's interesting to think about how they'll handle other people coming here in the future, because this concert for us was a free show, and they will want more things like this. If it does continue, it's going to be interesting to know how they're going to afford it.
We mentioned those tickets earlier. Well, the tickets were scaled from $25 to $35 in a country where the average annual wage is only $200.